Hello, EPM. Hello, EPM. Welcome to another. I had to reset.
Like...
Don't forget. Boop, boop. Okay. Let's go. Welcome to Empower Hour Live. Again, it is Friday, July 30th. We are nearing August, which is insane. I did not expect 2021 to fly by like that.
Right. This is the 7th month. That's crazy.
Yeah, my birthday was now almost a month ago. So I can't celebrate my birthday anymore. Happy birthday to anybody who's got a birthday today or this weekend. Anyway, we have Julian on today. I'll let you take back over.
No, it's fine. Yep, we have Julian. We have Julian Sado on today, and we are very thrilled to have you, man. We know you bring a lot of information, and we want to basically leverage that and empower our force and our team with your message today. So go ahead and introduce yourself, and we will continue.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for letting me be here, you guys. I was here once before, right, LA? How long ago was that?
So you were part of our town hall series.
That was so 2020.
That was
2020. Okay, yeah. So that was different. But all right, so you guys know me from there. But I was working as a consultant. I was working with over 40 different mortgage companies, executives, really designing process flow, leadership training, sales coaching, mortgage development, all kind of stuff like that. And then I ended up falling into the medical industry because of bedside manner with doctors, started working with them, started working with insurance companies. So I had this consulting firm, but now I'm working with one company at this point. But so I'm a neurolinguistic programmer, a behavioral coach, and I study emotional intelligence, but I really heavily involve myself in neuroscience. So I work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I'm part of his program. I've been certified by him 2 different times, and I work with him, and I have a lot of information from him that I work with, that I infuse in the mortgage industry. So that's what I do. And I love PowerPoint because it keeps me on track. So I will show a little bit of PowerPoint, and then I would love to just have a conversation because we had a great conversation before we started recording, right, LA?
Yes. We the banter is always fun before we start recording. We just gotta leverage some of that in front of everyone.
Yeah. So that'd be great. So I don't know if you want me to get started. I can just share a screen.
Well, I want to ask this question actually.
I already have a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
What is it?
Super interested, your credentials and everything, but what is behavioral coaching? Like, what is that?
That's that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. So it's behavioral coaching is saying that everything you think about subconsciously, everything starts from how you felt as a child. It comes back from childhood. All the emotions from childhood are always going to resonate with you because they are housed in you by emotional energy. So when they talk about spiritual leadership and stuff, we're talking about what are people feeling emotionally? And usually our emotions are based off a memory of that scenario in some way, shape, or form. And we use our childhood memories to respond to our existing processes and situations in life. And I'm gonna show how that works exactly in mortgage today. So that's a great segue.
I have a follow-up question real quick. So is there a such thing as, I'm trying to think of a nicer way to say it, when they're just like, shut up and grow up, get over it, grow up?
There is. But here's the thing. The problem with that is you have to, there's a process to everything. Everything is ones and zeros. Everything in life, even though it looks like it's blurry, it's not. Everything is data. Everything is process. You have to have a process to get over it. If you don't do the process, what happens is you're not aware of the other triggers that are causing the same issue, right? So you have to understand the process behind get over it and grow up. And so it goes back to recognizing when you first felt it, what was going on, who was there, how did they impact you, and really understand what that scenario was, and then compare it to the one you are in now. And that's how you fix it.
That's so interesting because I did I found a hypnotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to try hypnotherapy. I thought I was like, let's try it. And so in that, one of the things that we were able to do was pinpoint the very first time that I had anxiety.
Right.
The very first, and we were able to like get in the mind because it like brings back your memories, you get in your subconscious. And it was like when I was 3 years old, and it was like it came back full force. Like I could feel it, I could hear it. I put myself back in that situation, and she was like, what is the significance of this event? Like whatever. And I was like, I think this is the first time that I felt anxiety as a kid. Right. And it was really interesting that you said about this because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to pinpoint why I had anxiety and where it came from.
Once we realize that, we realize we don't react to the same situations, and we end up growing up. To LA's point, we end up growing up because we are accepting that was past and this is present, but our emotions don't know the difference between past, present, and future. We have anxiety or depression because of those feelings. So you need to separate the three different scenarios so you can actually live forward. Here's what's interesting, what you just said, Blaine, is that we bring that all into our business as well. And in corporate, we bring it to like departments, like you have underwriting department battling with say sales department, to say, I'm not saying battle, but strong word, but you know what I mean, having differences of opinion, which is no different than a feeling you had from a conflict with a kid in the schoolyard, right? So it's the same feeling of you're against me, and we start reacting emotionally the same way we did when we were in the schoolyard. So we have to understand where those feelings come from so we can separate it and look for the end result and look at how to work on the process and not the end result. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm
Awesome. Emotions are my wheelhouse. I love talking about emotions and moving beyond emotions.
I'm taking
if everybody was to focus on bringing themselves to work emotionally and really fix it personally and then come to work versus bringing all that stuff to work, we would not be in the schoolyard every day at work. You know, that's the challenge. We're still bringing that schoolyard scenarios to work with us, and we end up fighting within our own companies. We almost poke holes in our ship in a lot of ways and not realizing it, right? So everybody's on the same ship, but we're poking a hole in the belly thinking it's just my gully, but it's the ship that you're affecting. So we have to understand that we have to look at it from a synergistic standpoint. We're all the same. We all feel the same things, and recognize those feelings I felt then aren't the same things that are happening now. And that's how we grow. So shut up and grow up, basically. LA's point.
Yeah, no, because I'm taking notes because like I have a friend legit right now that she's gorgeous now, but she's inside her head. She's still stuck in 5th grade when people were calling her ugly. And I'm like, that was so long ago.
I tell people all the time, they forget to check in with themselves now. It's like, you've been carrying this around from you're 16 years old. That's just not
like now at like 32-year-old, you're gorgeous, you're successful. Yeah. Why are you letting those 6-year-olds, or I don't know how old people are in 5th grade, those 10-year-olds.
Doesn't matter, they're young.
You forgot to grow up your emotions. Right. You forgot to mature your emotions. You know?
Exactly. So yeah, so let me give you guys this here, and those who are on the call. This is why I like showing visuals, because it makes you think about what I'm saying versus just hear it. Because if you put a visual to it, you start feeling a little different about what you're thinking. So if I just show you this picture right here, you guys let me know if you can see this. All right?
Yeah.
You guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So consider this. Consider this are mortgage companies. These are your competitors. This is everybody that you're against. You're all running the same race. Would you agree? I mean, we're trying to get business, build retention, have longevity in our industry, right? We're trying to win. But then if you think about how we represent ourselves to the people around us, we got to ask ourselves what separates us. So I'm gonna ask you guys, anybody who's even text or you use the chat, or even if you guys want to, what do you think separates you? Because this is what we sound like when we're looking at it on LinkedIn, looking at everybody's an I, but we're all saying I, so we sound the same. Right? So we all don't separate ourselves with social media, but social media is not going away. So we have to figure out what separates you. So if I was to ask like EPM, what separates you? What do you think, what would you say?
What separates me from Blaine, or
how we empower people?
Or what separates a company from any other company out there?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
our culture.
Culture. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Delilah said it's tacos.
Oh my Lord. I was wondering what her butt gonna be on.
Did you say tacos?
Yeah, tacos. Delilah.
Delilah said tacos.
Okay, all right. So now you guys got the taco fever over there too. Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, that's true. But you said culture. Do you think any other company could say culture? Do you think they could?
I think a select few can. I think when your company is big on culture, it stands out like in spades, just like Google or something. People like, I know growing up, people were always thinking we wanted to work for Google because of their culture is so awesome.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Most people will say words, but everyone can say the exact same word. I mean, I can put on a piece of paper with my company, we have great culture, right? We can share that, but do people actually believe it, or do they see everyone saying the exact same thing? And they see everyone saying the exact same thing. So here's what I want to show you. It's like, put in perspective. This is the truth about our world today, right? You guys have seen this before, right? There is no such thing as reality anymore. Reality has done a complete shift. And even the mortgage is not about interest rates anymore. It has nothing to do with interest rates. And I don't know how old you guys are, but this is how I used to live. Like, I don't know if you guys recognize what that is. You guys know what that is?
I'm sorry, what is that? I'm just kidding.
It's a computer.
Yeah, is that a calculator?
It's a
Yeah,
communication.
exactly. No joke, guys. This is my grandmother's house. I went to visit her in LA, and this couch was there when I was 5, and it's still there, and looks exactly the same. And that phone and phone books are still there. So, but life has changed. I took a picture because I thought people wouldn't believe me, so I had to take a picture. But life has changed. It is completely different. So you have to know what separates us. It has to be something that's not so universally used. We use words like culture, brand, we're engaged, all these words, but they mean nothing to anybody unless they're felt, right? And so I told you I get to consult with a lot of different companies, and I worked with a lot of these companies. I would say I know some of the executives to some of these, not all of these, one of these I should say for sure, but I've worked with them. I've went on tour with a couple of them. Here's the thing, we tend to look at our culture like this. A lot of companies, not you guys, because I can tell just from the small talk I've had with you guys, you guys are amazing. But a lot of companies focus on the activity. They create an activity, then there's an emotion with that activity. It could be a process. Then they have a belief system based off of how they feel about that activity because of that interpretation, that emotion. And then they have their identity. And this is where we lose it, because what happens is people don't feel like they're being themselves. They're losing themselves in the activity of a company that they didn't agree with or something they didn't want to do. So what companies are doing now, the ones that are really making a difference, they're not being like this. And we're like this a lot in our industry, like Lucille Ball. I don't know if you've seen the chocolate factory. We're separated, doing our own business. We're moving through stress, and we're reacting to everything. That's the activity. And there's the emotion. I get frustrated. Belief, I need to get out of this. This is killing me. I don't like this. I don't want to be here, but I need to pay my bills. My identity is I'm in a position I don't want to be in, but I have to be there. That's 80+% of our employees in the industry that we're in. Most people fell in this industry. They didn't choose it. So they feel stuck. And because of that, there is a discontent in the industry. And that's why you have to see people jump and ship all the time and going places. And the companies are focused on doing processes the way they used to do it, which is hierarchy. So you guys are completely different. I already know that because I know Delilah and I've talked to her already, and I know what you guys do. You guys are already filtering things in, using the employees as a way to get things done. And what happens is you guys are letting people have an identity. And in that identity, they believe this is where they belong. And because of that, they get emotionally charged and they come up with ideas. That's what companies are doing now for the new generation, especially Z generation coming to the workforce. So they work harder on themselves than they're doing their jobs. And so a lot of people have been doing this. They've been hiring people. And I don't know if you guys believe this is truth, but this is a Harvard said that 80% of your success is based off of your skills, based your people skills. But technical skills account for 80% of your individual success. So what happens is we've hired leaders because of their knowledge, understanding of the process, knowing mortgage, knowing the regulations, those kind of stuff. But then we promoted people because of those metrics, but they have not connected to the people properly. They don't understand the communication skills, how to connect. If somebody's having a bad day at home because their kid is sick, they don't know if it's COVID, their husband or spouse or significant other is not working, but they're coming to work with a mood and they miss something. They just talk about what's missed at work. They don't say, hey, what's going on? Is something going on personally? Need some time. They don't do that. And so they don't have that people skill. And so the people that work there want to leave or they feel not heard. So what happens is we found that people are now, this is another big thing, is that there's this thing called a mirror neuron that's not developing in our leadership and in ourselves because we're doing everything virtually. Like right now, I'm not creating a pheromone with you guys. My heart rhythm doesn't connect with you because I don't see you. It's really hard. If I was in the same room with you, if you would take electrodes and put it on our hearts and our brains, our frequencies will kind of line up and you will see us doing this together. Our brain frequencies, our heart rhythms will work together. And if you were to take a step-by-step picture of how we walk, we start walking in sync. That's because we become aligned, we become unified. But we don't do that in video. And so that mirror neuron is not developed. And so even though we're getting smarter per year, we're not understanding how to connect with people. So what I try to do is teach people that. So you guys can help me with this. Like, I don't know if anybody else wants to do it, but tell me, like, who inspired you growing up? Like, who inspired you growing up?
It might be cliche, but my father.
Okay. Why did he influence you?
He was strong. To me, he was a jack of all trades, and he was super dependable.
Okay.
So I try to leverage as an adult.
All right. What about this questions? Who influenced you in your career?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
What about you, Blaine?
Well, my influence growing up was a celebrity, was a singer. And then who influenced me in my career?
Who's a celebrity?
Well, it's Christina Aguilera.
Okay, cool.
Because the reason I say that is because she kind of was like a Disney girl, and she was like, you know, whatever she did in that early 2000s. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm right there with her. I'm from a small town. Anyway, so she kind of influenced me.
All right, so the question is for you guys, is who influenced you now? And what you both just said was people that invoked you emotionally, right? It is an emotional connection, not cognitive, not technical. So think of emotion as Captain Kirk, cognitive, think of Spock, you know, and then technical would be Scotty, the engine room guy, right? So it's usually people that connect with you emotionally. That's the key. It's like, and when you're under stress, those people that connect with you emotionally is what's going to help you get through things. And that's what happens. We don't realize that emotion is the number one thing that drives us, but it is the subconscious emotion, not the focus emotion, not the first emotion, but the second emotion. So the second emotion is actually the first emotion, and then your logical self brings up something that makes sound good for you to say to protect that first emotion. And so we never really tap into that. So the goal is to figure that out. So I want to show you this is a true story. This is Hans Eising did a study. He said, he's a psychologist. He found out if you don't see any doctor at all, from a psychiatrist, psychotherapist, psychoanalyst, all those, there's a percentage you get better in a year if you see one of those. But if you see no one at all and you just speak to someone who genuinely cares for you, like has all positive intent for your well-being, that there's over a 74% chance you'll be well in a year. So you don't have to see a doctor. You just need to know that people actually care for you. And with today's COVID and what happened, people don't want to just focus on work. They want to focus on what matters to them. And they want to know people feel that they matter too. It's not about the business. The business produces itself if we focus on that. So here's what happens. So you were asking me about behavioral science. Blaine, can I share with you? You guys do it, exercise. Anybody that's on the call want to do it, but check it out. So can you describe which one of these faces are? Which one is what? So which one is surprise? You know, which one is disgust? Which one's sad? Do you guys, can you see which one?
I think number 6 is surprised. He's like,
all right, EPM family, which one do you think is surprised? I'm thinking 6 is surprised also.
Or it could be disgust.
Jennifer says 5 is surprised.
Jennifer.
5 is surprised.
Oh, maybe because the face isn't squint. The eyes aren't squint. Yeah, surprise might be 5. And number 6 could be disgust.
A lot of people are saying 5 are surprised. So
okay.
5, yeah.
Which one's disgust then?
That must be number. It's so hard to tell. Number 6 probably.
Number 4 could be disgust.
That one kind of looks mad, like anger.
All right. So okay. Let's see if you guys got. You say 6 or surprise. Let's see.
Oh, fear. Was that one?
Fear.
Oh,
okay, so 5 surprise was right. Everyone who said 5 for surprise was right, and people said 4 for disgust were right also.
Okay.
Anger, yeah. Sadness, contempt, yeah.
Who is this?
So here's the thing. So here's what we have to understand. Our like right now, Blaine, I want you to think about your left toe, your left big toe.
Okay.
All right. So if I asked you right now, you don't realize it, but your subconscious is always thinking about that big toe because it's in a shoe. It's always going to feel the rub against your sock and shoe against that toe. You have 40 million subconscious responses in your brain right now going on. So what happens is when you see people's facial expressions, even though I asked you, what did you think? You already had a thought about it, but then now I made you think about it. Now you have a conscious thought about it, but the subconscious is always looking at people and determining what you feel about them subconsciously. Does that make sense? You just don't bring it up, but you already feel it. When you see somebody smile at you, it makes you feel better, right? So it's like, okay, they're smiling at me. That's a conscious effort. But if you didn't think, if they didn't smile at you, even though they made a face, they looked at you, you're going to assume that facial expression, regardless if it's wrong or right. You have an assumption of that. And that's what behavioral science is all about. Your assumptions drive your behaviors. So environments, so that's what external locus of control is. I'm gonna show you what this is. So let me show you what this is. So anybody know who this person is?
Is that Delilah?
No clue who that is.
No, I don't know.
Anybody know? Oh, that's me!
Dude,
I'm sorry, I could just tell.
Where's your beard? Where's your beard at, dude? I can't tell you. That's just you.
He came a year later.
Okay, who's this? Anybody know who this person is?
I think that's Christy Rojas.
Yeah, that's Chris Miller, actually.
That's Chris Miller.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. All these pictures of you guys, and right now, when you guys look in the mirror, all the emotions you felt there are still coming out now because no matter who you guys are. So when you grew up, you heard things like no talking, go to your room, eat your veggies, whatever it might be. You had stop, no, don't do this. Everything that happens in your office now, everything that happens to you is based off the emotions you felt as a child. So if, let's say, you have come here, right? Say your parent says, come here, and they say it with a tone. And then your boss says, hey, Blaine, come here, I need to talk to you. The same exact emotion of that did something wrong is going to pop up in your subconscious thought process, and that stress level is going to populate unless you catch it and realize it's not. And what we do is we start responding and become defensive to that emotion from childhood. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I give you a real life example that just happened this morning? Eric called out to Blaine, and Blaine said, what? And to me, that response, Blaine was smiling and stuff like that when I looked up and saw him. But when I heard it audibly, the what just sparked an emotional response from my childhood, because what is kind of a negative way to respond to being called.
Yep. For me, it was like, go get a branch off the tree.
Correct, exactly. And so right now with my children, if they say what, it's yes or whatever else, but don't say what. It just sounds.
Yep. I have people, when people do this to me, when people give me the finger, when I'm talking and they're multitasking, they're like, that finger's like, it brings like a spark in me. It's like, what? Whoa, it pisses you off, right? So these little triggers, but here's the challenge. We respond to those triggers, and then all of a sudden we have a whole paradigm behind how we feel about that person, the situation, what we're talking about, and we're not really thinking about the issue. We're thinking about the feeling subconsciously, and it's driving our responses, our body language, our breathing, our facial expressions, and then that person has their own triggers, and they're doing the exact same thing. So we're missing reality through our past. And so to Blaine's point, we need to separate that and find out where it is. And it means it's a lot of work, but you get used to it. You start talking through I call it walking backwards. You walk backwards to your issues. And I call them issues because you're not severing the past from the present. So, it's really an easy thing to do once you learn how to do it. So that's it. So I thought those were cute pictures. Thank you guys. I know. So here's the thing. This is how, when you don't get what you want when you were a kid, this is how you responded. And even to this day, even though you're more poised, that's still how you respond. You still show disdain, you show anger, you show frustration, discontentment, or even I would say dislike towards somebody's ways of doing things. You show the same kind of response as you did as a kid, unless you catch it. So here's what, I'm not even going to show you this, but here's a trick question. And because we don't have a participant, we're not in public, but I tell you, if I gave people this statement right here, normally it's a negative comment they fill in a blank here. It's not a positive. It's because
when I think about my mom, my potential.
Okay. You're wrong.
At the same time, I always think about the fact that I'm infinite. Okay, so I have to redo it because
me too.
We're unstable.
But you don't have to do it now. But here's the thing. Most of the time we go into a negative for this because negatives are the first thing of survival. We learn negative first emotionally because that helps us survive our environment. So we usually go back to what is going to protect us. And so we remember the dangers when we think like this. So the goal is to understand the paradigm and to walk it backwards, understand that that is not who you are now. So when you think back, you're usually thinking about a negative when you have it in this context. And we usually think that way a lot. So again, we do the same thing.
Yeah, I think
because I didn't think negative. I didn't think negative.
Well, that's good. You guys are positive. But you had therapy, Blaine, so you don't count.
Oh, okay.
so this is what's called locus of control. So this is where I grew up in LA. I grew up in California. This is the 405 freeway. This is what it looks like every day of the week, unless maybe now everybody's running from there. But at the same point,
that's how it looks now.
Yeah, so it's like, this is any day of the week. But locus of control, external locus of control, is when you feel like something's happening to you and you react to it. And so I remember being on the freeway like this. And I use this for example, because I literally would be on the freeway having to get somewhere, and I would get off the freeway because I needed to have some control. I would go on the street to get there, and it would be stop and start to stop. But I felt like I had some movement versus just sitting, even though it took me twice as long to get there. And that's what we do to ourselves. We hurt ourselves just so we can feel like we have some control. And the goal is to understand, am I hurting and making it harder for me just so I can feel like I have some control? I don't want to be that kid anymore. How dare they tell me that? How dare they talk to me that way? How dare they say, come here or wait? And so am I making it harder for myself by letting that emotion run my actions? And that's the key we have to do. So like you guys know I was in the entertainment industry, right? And Blaine, you like Christina Aguilera. I just threw these pictures. I just grabbed a few from working with Tracy Spencer, Tone Loc, J Lo, Bill Bellamy. You know, worked with magazines.
I see her.
And you guys don't realize this, but look, I had a record deal. The one on the far left, that's me with an afro. That was Soul Glow right there. I literally had a record deal for Capitol Records. Don't ask me to sing now, but it was a fun time.
You look like one of the DeBarge brothers.
Yeah, that's what you part of DeBarge.
Right.
We were friends. We hung out a lot, but we used to tell people we were related. But here's the thing. I had all these opportunities. I was in the mix of it. I was doing extremely well, but I had some issues growing up. I can tell you, I had some trauma growing up, from getting shot at to all kind of crazy violence and just crazy stuff. Dysfunctional family, right? Like a lot of people. So what happened was every time I got hit with success, every time I had something good happen, there was this part of me going, I'm not worthy. Something's wrong. Something bad's going to happen, because I was so used to bad happening that I would basically chew my own shoe off, right, in foot, because I was used to being in a struggle, and I kept putting myself in a struggle because I kept viewing myself as my past emotions versus the possibilities. And we do that a lot. So the science of learning how to walk yourself backwards is key. So I don't know about you, but a lot of people see their life like this. They're moving forward and all this, everybody's out to get them. And we don't think about it, but most people don't think about us. We think about us more than anything. The goal is to take real thought about yourself and fix whatever the issues are and have therapy like Blaine talked about. That's really the key. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, look, your anxiety is just a reflection of that, something of you. You're filtering it through these people. You think that they're thinking about you, but the reality is they're not thinking about you. You're just thinking about you through their lens. They're not they're thinking about themselves.
Right.
They're thinking about
and we always focus on what people did to us as if they've done something to us versus them just reacting to their own triggers. They're not reacting to you. They're acting to their triggers. And there's when you start seeing people for what they are, human, and not out to get you, it changes everything. You take nothing personal. If we can take our customer yelling at us or our salespeople saying, why haven't you done this yet? Or whatever it might be. If we can take any of those things and realize their backdrop is completely different than yours, then you won't get mad. And so it goes back to these trainings. Like I told you I had a crazy life. I also went to EMT school. I was going to be a firefighter because I thought that's what I wanted to do. But I did ride-alongs for 2 years working at EMT, and I've seen a lot of crazy. But what I found is when you go through training, they train to walk in the fire. What we do in our industry, we try to make things easy for people, saying this is great. We have a great system. And then we have a problem. We're hit with shock. We're like, it's like getting hit in the face for the first time. As a fighter, I got in the ring to spar, so I knew what it felt like to get hit. So I had the confidence to get in the ring when I wasn't sparring. And we need to really understand, we need to train ourselves, not avoid conflict, but actually lean into it and start looking at what it is. It's part of the process is to have struggle. And these jobs, I mean, think about it. They got hired on for what? What do these careers have in common is that they understand that their mindset is key. They remain calm in scenarios and they have a plan. And we need to do the same thing in our industry with ourselves. And I'm telling you, it is crazy because none of y'all, I would say most of you grew up saying, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be famous, I wanted to be a veterinarian, I wanted to help people. You didn't plan to be in mortgage, but your energy and what you do in mortgage is no different than all those other fields. You still are affecting people's lives. And so it's like doctors don't expect healthy people to show up in the hospital. They expect sick people to show up. So when we get mad at our peers or get mad at our customers, we gotta understand, duh. I mean, I'm in an industry that deals with this, so I can't get mad that they're like this. I need to expect it. So that's really the key. So here's the key. And also common mindset is I'm responsible for my results. Do you guys believe that? This is a setup question, by the way. So just so you know, do you guys believe that?
I am responsible for my results. Yes, I believe it.
Okay, so and that is common and it's normal, but here's the key. Because we're on a ship, you guys are on a boat. Think of a starship or like a boat that's surrounded by water. You're responsible for delivering results through people. You need to make sure that you inspire the people that you work with to work with you, period. You can't force people to do things. If you do, you're going to get a half-assed result. If you help people have a mindset that want to work with you, then you'll get a full result. So the goal is you're responsible through other people because LA, truly, you can't do it alone, right? You can't do what you do without Blaine. And, you know, underwriters can't have what they have without a salesperson. A salesperson can't get loans closed without underwriting. We all need each other. And we got to understand it's not about forcing and pushing. It's about understanding how am I affecting that person to work in their best interest and mine, not force them. That is subconscious. So it's an inside out process. It really is. It's not about outside in. So that's why I hate training so much. We train emotional intelligence. People take a class and go back to their calls and start screaming at people. It's inside out. It's not outside in. So we got to do that. So anyway, that's it. So what inspires you is a key. Like Blaine, I learned a lot about you right now. I can say to you right now, just hearing, talking to you about your mom and entertainment and stuff, I learned a lot about you. We need to have places like what you guys do, like learn about each other, find out which word defines each other, where your passions are, and keep that in front of you when you're talking to each other and know what those are. And if you guys want to, if you take stuff like this and just take it with you and learn this about your peers, about your employees that you manage, even each other, just what can you, like, these are like those small side angle conversations that when you learn about these things with people, you see them in a different light. And so examples, I had a person I was working with, a person that was not my manager, but somebody who had some power over me, not about 4 years ago. She would kind of dictate and scream at people and talk negative about everybody, right? I mean, just to the point where I just shut up because I knew if she talked about everybody else around me, that means she was talking about me around them. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So I just asked her, so, you know, if you don't mind, tell me about your child. How'd you grow up? And come to find out, she grew up in a trailer. She was the only white woman around a bunch of, I would say, other people that she didn't relate to. She had to fight for what she had. She had to literally prove to them that she was tough enough to survive. And all of a sudden, I saw that kid in the way she managed her business. And so I had empathy towards the way she manages. So when she started talking to me, I didn't take it personal because I saw the kid in her just trying to prove herself to everyone around her. And she was still holding on to that childhood struggle of having to prove that she was tough enough to be in the position she was in. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
I did that. And I was able to go, you know what? I don't see her yelling at me anymore. I see her in that schoolyard again, or right out of the house, trying to get to her house and people trying to jump her. I saw that. And it gave me the feeling to not react the way I used to. So that's what you want to do. You want to get to the heart of people's minds, where they are, and you don't take things personally anymore. So, and that's what this guy did. You guys heard about him, right? You know, he ran a 4-minute mile under 4 minutes. I tell you, the crazy thing about it, he told people when he did this, he had to learn more about himself before, more than he did the sport. And he had to learn that his psychology of his thinking is what was driving everything. So that's really it. So if you guys want to, I'm not even gonna go through this because of time, but did I give you anything to think about?
Yeah, you did. See, it's really important to me to get to know a person individually before anything. That's like how I roll always.
Right.
And so I'm always asking people questions that they might not even realize that I'm just trying to get to the heart of them. Right.
Right.
And so like I'll be accused of asking a weird question or whatever, like, dude, you ask such weird ass questions. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm trying to learn you, right? I'm trying to know how to interact with you and know that when you snap, it's not personal. It's coming from a place that has a long history here, and I can better know how to work with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I try to promote transparency between me and my peers so that we can know how to work with each other. If you have a condition or something like that, where sometimes you need time out, or
see,
you know.
that's a timeout. But that gives me that's a flaring word. What do you mean a timeout? I don't need a timeout. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you have a situation where you just need to step away, then I won't take it personal. I know you need to do that. Then you get back in your element, you get back on your game. Yeah. And it's just sharing information like that.
I know, I share with him all the time. I'm like, I'm emotional today.
Right.
I'm higher than usual. I'm very sensitive. I just want to let you know. He's like,
cool.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, the good thing about it is if you guys were to name the emotion, it helps control it. Like if you give it a name, it gives you power over it. So you define what that emotion is. And then if you say I'm emotional, so give me what does it feel? What emotion are you feeling? It could be sad, angry, frustrated, whatever it might be. And then, like you said, counsel each other. So what made you feel that way? And so now that you've shared it, does the emotion change from frustrated? What's it change to? And you give it a different name, and that gives you the psychology that you're controlling your emotion. You want to feel it though. Don't subdue your emotion. And like you said, Blaine, sharing it is key.
That's exactly it. That's it.
Yeah.
Feel it. That's exactly it. When I realized that a few years ago, I went through a really rough time just emotionally. And that was the first kind of lesson that I learned was you have to actually feel your emotion. You can't run from your emotion. You can't like push it down and expect it to go away. It's just kind of,
It bottles up, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems so obvious to people. But when you put it in practice for some people, that's really difficult. And so it was like, I had to feel it. I had to name it. I had to say, I am depressed. And this is heavy, and I feel like crap. And, you know, I had, you know, so I had to get in myself and realize that.
It seems like a no-brainer, but I'm still struggling myself being vulnerable when I'm having times like that. Because I don't know, I've been raised, I grew up in a situation where just even as a Black man, I kind of just can't show my emotions on my sleeve.
That's how you feel.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But so I'm growing, I'm growing past that.
So can I challenge you with that?
Yes, of course.
All right. So when you say as a Black man, because I'm African American, people think I'm Spanish all the time, but I'm Black. I mean, my mother's from Shreveport, Louisiana. My father's Hawaiian and Black, but you know, I look Hispanic because all my cousins and my family look more like you, LA, than me because my father was Hawaiian, and so I grew up in this area where I was always I was El DeBarge. And when El DeBarge got famous, it was safer for me, right? But I battled with it, right? But I was El DeBarge Black all the time, right? So it was one of those things where, you know, you grow up a certain way and you just said it. You say, I grew up a Black man. And when you do that, you're taking yourself backwards. And so we have to understand that, you know, every emotion you feel is no different than a kid in Thailand feels. Every emotion that Blaine feels, exactly the same emotions you feel. And there is no such thing as color per se, because you're not a Black man. You're a human being that has a hue. And I tell you, Blaine can go live in Brazil for 2 years and start looking Brazilian. His color, his skin tone could change. He can shave his hair. He can start walking like a UFC fighter. He would look Brazilian because his environment changes his outward appearance. But it's like Asians have high overlays because the sandstorms in Asia, their pebbles are so big that the body developed a flap over the eyelids. And so African Americans have darker skin, Indians have darker skin because the melanin in your body protects your organs from the sun rays. So we have to develop that. Blaine will go to the sun and he will burn because his body's producing melanin very quickly to protect from the sun, because his ancestors are from Europe where the sun hardly ever rises. But that's the only reason there's color. So we can't say we're color. We're human that actually put on a suit to live in an environment in which we live. That's it. So we can get past that and stop and focus on what you feel and the similarities in that. That's diversity and inclusion right there. That is the key to diversity and inclusion. How are you feeling? Hey, I feel the same way when and take it backward to the feeling, but not the color. Does that make sense?
No, I completely, it's not so much as me, it's I guess, like I want Blaine to be able to say that he's having let's just say a rough day or whatever, he's having an emotional day. And I want to be able to say I'm having an emotional day too, without being told to struggle well.
But we don't say that to each other. I'm like, let's go talk, let's get it and
to grow up and get over it.
Well, again, like you said, struggle is part of the day. I mean, struggle is, you can't have one without the other, right? It's two sides of the same coin, basically, right? You have good and you have bad. That you don't know what good is until you can say, wow, things are so much better today than yesterday. That's how you appreciate today, right? So it comes with the territory. And so, but you do need each other to talk to. You do know that. And I think our culture has always made it sound like if you're not sitting on a hammock and drinking a Mai Tai, then all of a sudden you're not as successful, as happy as everybody else. But that's not true. That's temporary. That's not life. That's a picture. You got to get up and pee. So you're going to have to get out that hammock some kind of way. So you got to figure it out, right? So hope that makes sense.
I did a little bit of personal growing. You mentioned the freeway thing, how you would used to get off. So I used to do that also. And I used to also switch a lot of lanes to try to get where I'm going. But now, I don't know, I guess like about 5 years ago, I was just like, I'm going to stay in this lane. And I've just been getting where I need to get faster. So now I see people doing all the switching and stuff. And I'm like, man, that used to be me.
You get there at the same time, right?
Yeah. I'm like, let's stay here, dude. This lane is going to move, But yeah, so.
That's awesome. I think somebody made a comment about know yourself or something like that. I thought that was actually so true.
Christy Rojas.
You have a lot of conversations.
Connect with yourself to connect with other people. It's so true, because what I found, people say, how you doing? But they're always good. Then people aren't going to mirror that. They're going to say they're good too. So as long as you're vulnerable, LA, the more vulnerable you are with people, the more vulnerable they're going to be with you. So we can't, and leaders can't always be on point, because we're not. If we are, we're faking it, right? We have to have breakdowns too. Hey, I'm a leader to say I'm having a rough day today because of what's going on personally. They don't have to get too detailed, HIPAA laws and stuff, but you can say I'm having a really rough day personally and stuff, but at the same time, you can show that emotion and just have that other person say, hey, I can be here for you and listen if you want. that gives them the freedom to say, when I'm down, I can say the same thing. But we try.
Exactly. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's how I live my life. That's why I'm so open about my emotions, because if I'm open about my emotion and I'm real with you about how I'm feeling, then one, that lets you know where I'm at and how to approach me. But two, that lets you have the space to come to me and say the same damn thing when you're going through something similar, where you can be like, hey, look, today ain't the day for me. And it's like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad to hear
Yeah.
you say that, because that is how I live my life.
No, I totally understand it. I accept that, and that's how I would like to
Yeah.
move too.
So yeah, so that's it. I mean, so I tell you, from a business standpoint, it all turns to personal. Everything's personal. If you guys can focus on my energy, my spirit comes with me, no matter where I'm at, work, home, in the car. If we focus on that, your job, yes, what separates you. That's your retention, that's your marketing, because people feel it and they'll know it and they'll follow you. That's it. So it's not about putting up a marketing campaign. It's about being genuine. You guys, to me, it feels that way. I mean, I see some pictures. I saw you shooting guns on social media and stuff. That's a lot of stuff. Holding space for ourselves, always us to give other people space to. Yep, but it sounds cliche. And this is what's so crazy about it. It's not, because of COVID. I've had so many people reach out saying, I am just lonely and lost, and I have to focus on this cold work process that I just feel so disconnected with. I'm only doing it to survive. And one of the things I would say, if you have any remote employees, have a room like this up where people can go. It's like a break room with a Zoom call where people can just go and sit and see other people sit and talk. Just have like a virtual break room, if you will. People can go and sit. It's a really,
and be inspired by, we're being inspired by this idea of virtual break room.
Yeah, a virtual break room where you have people that are like working from home. They can just click, chime into that Zoom call and see who's sitting around. And, it should be intentional where some people are sitting there. I'm going into the Zoom break room, see if anybody shows up. That's it. And give people a chance to connect with people in the office. That's going to be one of the good things about it.
Right. I have a question here from our PM. What private messages? So what should companies be thinking about when it comes to employee satisfaction, brand, or even goals for employee development?
To me personally, I would say one of the biggest things is understanding that most people do have a job. It's not their passion, but they'll be passionate about what they do. There's a difference, right?
Yes.
So focusing on allowing people to have creativity, side hustles, let them be promoting of the side hustles. Don't try to snuff it or have some fear of it. And also, if they want to, let's put an example. If I have an employee who wants to be a hairstylist, support that 110%. I'd rather you spend 5 years passionate about going to school to be a hairstylist, working with me, than trying to hide it and try to snuff it down and try to work with me. Because then you're just being probably a half-ass employee. When you can see me supporting that, then I might be able to leverage that one day. Come in and cut the hair for everybody one day or something. Who knows? But you want to help people chase their passion, because in that process of chasing that passion, they're going to be even that more passionate about what they do. So support side hustles, let them be creative, and let them be excited about failing at something versus having it right. You guys know.
I love that you say that, because I feel like I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm sorry if I'm stumbling through my words, but specifically, I work really closely with LA and Eric Skates, and Eric and I have a dream to I love helping people. I want to be you, right? I want to do what you do. I want to come into and help people elevate their mindset, elevate their thoughts, and kind of, that's just what I want to do. So that's my goal in life, is become, it's what I'm gonna do, right? And
but you're doing it. But you're doing it though. But you're doing it.
I am doing it. Yes. I want to get paid for it. And but Eric is really great, because Eric will be like, oh, I had this idea for you as you move forward as a coach, or oh, I had this. And it's really wonderful because he's, I work with him, and that's my boss, but he's still like encouraging me to really go after what matters to me. And he's like, you're good at this, like people love you. And
that is so, I'll tell you something, Blaine, that's a huge blessing, dude. I've worked with so many companies where people and executives in those companies thought people were born just to work for them. And it's like, no, it's like, no, they really don't. They just want a paycheck. They want survival. They will smile in your face and act like you're everything, because that's what they're supposed to do. But personally, if they had a chance, put it this way, if they won the lottery, would they come back tomorrow? No. So, but you got to think of it that way. So the goal is understanding, I might not come back next week, but if I really like you, I will come back tomorrow to make sure that you're set up for success when I leave, right? That's what you want. So exactly. So that's good. So I would say that's it. Let people fail too. Make some ideas. Have people come up with ideas to say, it might not work, but what do you think might work? And try it. And put some money into that. Then, because what happens is we have people setting up processes that if it fails, then they're held responsible for it, and they don't want to fail. So what they do is they look at what's been done already. And
Right.
so safety and repetitiveness, because it's already been done and it's safe for me because I can lean on, well, that's how we did it last time. But then we don't change anything. And that what makes us like everybody else. So to be different is to be willing to try something new, like different titles. I mean, I know a company that's actually in the social media space. They don't have managers. Their names are influencers. I'm here to influence. That's it. You know, they have hackers, mind hackers. They have, game changers. Those are the titles they have in the company. They don't have the old titles that we're used to. So doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that creative studios.
Yeah.
I think there's feedback on. I don't know which one of our ends has it, but speaking of that, how would you deal with an upset peer or a customer or a manager or a life hacker? I mean, whatever.
With all this in mind.
With all this in mind, yeah. We're talking about positives, but how about if the negative end? If you deal with an upset?
Well, what do you mean upset with the process? Upset at home? What do you give me some clarity?
Yeah, maybe they're upset.
Maybe they're pissed, right? You walk in, your manager's pissed today, and your manager's not very emotionally intelligent, right?
Exactly right.
And so how would you, so you walk in, your manager is angry and not very emotionally intelligent. So how would you handle that? Like, how would you?
I think you touched on it with the trailer park lady. But
again, it goes back to having a history, having a background of who they are and what their triggers might be, and understand those triggers are those triggers. And I have to walk myself back. Did I do anything? Did I say anything? Did something happen where it's against me? And if it's not against me, I tell myself, let it go. Just let them know, hey, I'm here if you want to talk, but let it go. You have to let it go and not even resonate with it. And what we do is we get in our car and start driving home, man, he was a jerk. We start thinking about it. It's like, you just got to let it go and tell yourself, let it go. So I
have another question for you too. He's like, let it go. So what are some practices that you can do to better get yourself in like that mindset, or the thing that we've been talking about this whole time, what are some practices? Like for me, I journal a lot. That's a way that I can kind of work through my emotional and just wait out what's actually a problem and what's just my own making, right?
So if I tell you this, I should send you a bill for this, Blaine, because this was really part of the behavioral science. And you might get feedback because I think my fan is making a lot of noise, so sorry about that. But, here's the thing. You got to first name the event, like what happened to you right now, what just happened. And then the first remembrance, like you said, what you didn't say is another part of it. That's the cost part, which is, describe the situation, the feeling you had. But then you want to go, what did it feel like? What did it look like? How big was the room when you were in? You name everything, you put a description, and then you give it a name. You literally say, okay, take what it felt like, what it looked like, what it smelled like, how big was the room, what color do you see at this feeling? And then what's the name? When you do all that, because I did this for me with all my backwoods drama, and I would say my name for all that stuff was perception. I gave it the name perception. And what it is put yourself in kind of like a trance state mentally. You start just kind of feeling it out, and then you just give it a name. Whatever name comes to your subconscious, whatever name you give it, you give it. Okay, so it's perception. All right, so what is perception telling you? And then you can thank perception for being there. And this is a great thing. I should send you a bill, I'm telling you. This is understand, thank perception for being there, but then tell perception, I don't need you anymore. You're not relevant to this situation, because it's been there this whole time protecting you your whole life. So you don't want to fight it, because if you fight it, now you just create another ego state that's putting you in another position to deal with some new issue. So you thank it for being there this whole time, but say, you know what, I don't need perception here right now. Thank you, but I don't need you today, and let it go. And that is the way to deal with it, because once you do that, you're free. And perception is not feeling like it's fighting to stay relevant. You just know it's there. It might be there again for some other means, but right now you don't need it. So that's how you deal with it. I'm gonna send you a bill, Blaine.
Please do, because let me tell you, last week I was in a high and anxious state. I've had a very busy last few months, but last week it kind of all hit me in 1 week, and I started taking everything super personal. And it didn't matter where I was and what, it's the grocery store, at work, everything was like direct, like everybody's attacking me. And it took me 2 days to work through this emotion, and a lot of talking to my advisors. But eventually I was able to sit there, and they were like, just be the way that you need to be right now. Just be this for the next 10 minutes. And so I ended up crying because that's what I need to do to release it. And then and then I was able to name it. And I was like, I feel a tremendous amount of pressure. That's what I'm feeling right now. And I feel like I can't live up to the person that I want to be right now in this moment. But really what it was I was just sad because of the week before I had lost my grandfather. And so when I was like named it, and then I could able to get a little bit deeper to say, actually, this is all just a response to this grief that I'm feeling. So, and then I was like, grief, thank you so much, but you're appropriate here.
Right.
Yeah. So, interesting. You just said something very important too, is like, you're taking a proactive approach to who you are. And a lot of people don't do that. They fight it because they're too busy. And so it's another thing, take time out for yourself. I tell people always try to just go to bed a half hour early tonight, and wake up half hour earlier tomorrow morning and do what you're doing. Like, just take time to think about you, give yourself some time. Don't just get up to go to work, get up, take care of you too. And that's important to do. So breathing, eating better, walking, if you walk, walking actually helps relieve that stress too, and breathing, like like 2 breaths in, like through your nose, and then 1 long breath out helps the sphincter nerve, which goes to your diaphragm, which really is a way to help the body control some of these emotions so you can think logically. It's really, people don't take enough time out physically for themselves and just really understand your body as a response to your thought process, the subconscious. So you can hack it by focusing on your body, and it helps your emotions as well. So if you're feeling emotional, taking a walk has your eyes move side to side, which helps you feel like you're moving in progression and a positive. So it helps with your body's subconscious think is doing something better. And breathing helps your body because it helps bring down that cortisol, that stress. So those are 2 good things to do as well.
Nice.
That's so funny that you say hacking. You're thinking about like, I just want to, we'll wrap up now because I just think this is a great place to end. But you said you can hack this by just listening to it. It's funny. That's what you say. You're like, hack it. Like it's not a real secret. It's not really like you're hacking it. You're just listening.
Right.
And you're being real. And you're taking the time to examine it a little bit deeper. When you need, like, somebody asks, like, how do you teach others to let it go? By first teaching yourself how to let it go. I think that's And
it goes back to what you said, Blaine. I feel like, I'm counseling, but I'm sending you a bill. But here's the thing. You are getting paid for it because the EPM does pay you, and you are helping people by having a venue to do this. So be excited about the fact that this is a buffer for greater things to come, but this is part of your training ground, right? So, when you said, but I want to get paid, you're thinking of what you don't have, and that creates a stress of depression or lack of and stuff. So you already have it. You can't think of what you don't have. You can't even think, your dream should not be, I want. You have to imagine it, feel it, know what it is right now, and know that you're living it right now. It might not to you look, it's like a kid at a school play performing has the same exact emotions that Christina Aguilera had performing in front of millions, right?
There I was, 13 years old, singing the notes, and I was Christina Aguilera.
Yeah, so you need to catch yourself and make sure you don't feel like you don't have what you say you want, because you actually are living it right now. This could be, one of these people on this call, whoever is listening, could be the next Anthony Robbins or, Brene Brown, right? Because of the conversations that you guys have prompted through this EPM program. So you are helping millions. So you have to put that in perspective. It's one person.
You must know him personally because everyone else just called him Tony.
Huh?
Anthony, you call him. We call him Tony. You call him Anthony.
Oh, well, Jim Rohn was his mentor. He's my mentor too. So I've met him a few times, but it was before cell phones, so we didn't take pictures all the time. So I don't have all those photos. But
well, we're gonna wrap up because our hour is over.
Right.
This has been amazing. You were like speaking to my heart. This is my language. So thank you so much, and thank you for reminding me that I do it every day, because that is,
you do. Yeah.
And same with you. But anyway, I am so grateful for today. So thank you for your knowledge, and you can send us the bill. We will
send it to Eric Skates.
Yes, Eric Skates.
So Eric, to Eric, I'll send you the bill. Hey, and Delilah says, hey, Delilah.
I was about to say send it to Delilah. To Delilah, but I got Delilah.
And Jennifer, thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, so it's great seeing you guys. Thank you guys. You guys have a great day.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon.
All right.
Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Be great.